Everything seemed routine that morning until one whispered rumor turned the entire set upside down. It started with Mendeecees pacing the hallway, a phone pressed to his ear, voice low but urgent. Kirk Frost was already in the producer's office, slamming his hand on the desk, demanding answers about a file that was never supposed to exist. Sierra walked in next, calm on the outside, but her eyes said everything. She knew something the others didn't. And then there was Tasha K, already recording in her mind, piecing together what could be the biggest exposé of her career. The tension was electric, thick enough to choke on. Everyone on set had secrets, but this one? It was different. This wasn't just about betrayal or business. This was about blood, lies, and a DNA result that could destroy everything they'd built. Someone had leaked something dangerous, and now no one could trust anyone else. By the time the day ended, alliances would shift, friendships would burn, and one truth would change everything. Because when Mendeecees, Kirk, Sierra, and Tasha get pulled into the same storm, someone always walks out broken. And this time, that storm was personal. Mendeecees had always been the calm one, the strategist who rarely let emotions take control. But lately, something had changed. He'd been distracted, his eyes often lost in thought, his phone lighting up with messages he refused to answer in front of anyone. Kirk Frost noticed it first. Kirk, being who he was, didn't believe in coincidences, especially not when it came to business or loyalty. He'd built his empire by keeping his circle tight and his eyes open, so when Mendeecees started pulling away, Kirk felt it immediately. It wasn't long before whispers started floating around that Mendeecees had been meeting with someone off the record, someone who had dirt on people in their own circle. Sierra, caught in the middle of both men's worlds, tried to stay neutral, but neutrality had a price. She'd seen enough to know that when people like Kirk and Mendeecees fell out, collateral damage was inevitable. Still, she couldn't help but feel drawn into the tension. Every conversation felt coded, every phone call suspicious. And when Tasha K showed up asking questions about a missing file, Sierra's heart skipped a beat. Tasha had a way of finding what people wanted hidden. Her instincts were sharp, and she could smell a scandal before it even surfaced. The energy around them grew heavier with each passing day, like everyone was waiting for a bomb to drop. Mendeecees confronted Kirk one afternoon, and it wasn't the usual exchange of words between two men who respected each other. It was cold, clipped, and filled with something unspoken. Kirk accused him of betrayal. Mendeecees accused Kirk of paranoia. Sierra stood nearby, pretending to scroll through her phone while catching every word. Tasha K was recording an episode that same night, speaking in riddles about a story that could shatter reputations and expose a secret alliance gone wrong. Her subscribers ate it up, but what they didn't know was that the story was closer to home than anyone realized. Behind all the noise, there was a document, a single piece of paper that held the truth about who had been funding what and where the money was really coming from. That file was supposed to stay buried, but someone had leaked it, and now Mendeecees was caught between loyalty and survival. Kirk was on the edge, convinced everyone around him was plotting. Sierra was silently terrified, knowing her own name appeared in that document somewhere it shouldn't have. And Tasha, sensing the tension, was ready to blow the lid off everything if it meant a story that would trend for days. What none of them realized yet was that the real danger wasn't the secret itself, but who was willing to protect it, and how far they would go to make sure it never saw the light of day. By the time the second week rolled around, the air between them had turned toxic. Mendeecees stopped showing up to meetings, and when he did, he kept his answers short, his eyes avoiding Kirk's. Kirk, on the other hand, started pulling security footage, calling in favors, and asking questions that made everyone nervous. Sierra tried to keep things professional, but it wasn't easy when both men expected her loyalty. She'd worked too hard to be caught in someone else's war, yet somehow she was already in the middle of it. What made it worse was Tasha K's latest upload. She never said names, but her hints were sharp enough for people to connect the dots. She mentioned a business deal gone dirty, a hidden partnership, and a woman stuck between two powerful men. The comment section exploded. Theories flew everywhere, and soon the whispers became headlines. Mendeecees called Tasha directly, warning her to stop before things got messy, but she laughed it off. She'd been in this game too long to be scared by threats. Kirk, meanwhile, was convinced Mendeecees was the leak, and his anger started showing. He confronted Sierra late one night in the parking lot, asking if she'd been talking to Tasha. She denied it, but her voice trembled just enough for him to notice. Mendeecees found out about that conversation, and that's when everything shifted. He no longer trusted anyone. Not Kirk, not Sierra, and definitely not Tasha. The balance of power was crumbling, and every move felt like a test of loyalty. Sierra started receiving anonymous texts warning her to stay quiet, and Mendeecees began hearing rumors that Kirk was planning to cut him off completely. Tasha, sitting behind her mic, was unknowingly narrating their downfall in real time, each upload pushing them closer to an explosion no one could stop. It all came to a head one night when they were all in the same room for the first time in weeks. Mendeecees had called the meeting, determined to clear his name, but the tension was already too thick to cut through. Kirk walked in with that same guarded look he always wore when he knew he had the upper hand. Sierra sat quietly, her hands clasped together, praying no one brought up her connection to the file. Tasha K arrived late, phone in hand, camera rolling just enough to capture faces without making it obvious. Mendeecees started talking first, his voice steady but tired, trying to explain that he wasn't the one who leaked the document. He said someone was setting him up, someone who wanted to see him and Kirk destroy each other while they watched from the sidelines. Kirk didn't buy it. He slammed a folder onto the table, filled with screenshots and bank receipts that painted a different picture. Sierra's face went pale because her name was right there in those records too. Tasha's camera caught the exact moment the realization hit her, the flicker of panic in her eyes. That was when it clicked for Tasha. This wasn't just about business or betrayal, it was about blackmail. Someone had been pulling their strings the entire time, and all of them were too caught up in ego to see it. Kirk turned on Sierra, demanding the truth, and she finally broke, admitting she'd known about the file for weeks but had stayed silent to protect herself. Mendeecees stepped in, defending her, which only fueled Kirk's rage. The shouting turned chaotic, accusations flying across the room until Tasha's phone pinged with a message from an unknown number. It was a video, a full confession from the real culprit. As it played, the room fell silent. The truth was uglier than any of them had imagined, and it exposed not just the leak, but years of lies buried under money and manipulation. Tasha stopped recording, knowing this story was bigger than a headline. It was the kind that could ruin lives. And in that silence, everyone realized the same thing. None of them were innocent. When the dust finally settled, none of them could go back to who they were before. Mendeecees vanished from the spotlight. Kirk tried to rebuild his image. Sierra moved quietly behind the scenes, and Tasha K owned the chaos she created. The truth had done what it always does, destroyed everything that wasn't strong enough to survive it. But one thing was certain, nothing in their world would ever be the same again. The alliances were shattered, reputations were scarred, and yet somewhere deep down, every one of them knew this wasn't the end, just the calm before another storm. Because in their game, exposure is currency, silence is power, and revenge never really dies. If you're ready for more truth, drama, and the stories no one else dares to spill, make sure you're locked in with the Hype Spill, where the real tea never sleeps and every secret eventually comes to light.